Okay, so I think if do you guys have any questions already, or should I just start with like a quick, round through the definitions of what AR is and etc., or what the questions are at the moment?
That's fine. I don't have a question
Okay.
yet.
Cool. So in immersive tech, basically it's any experience that is immersive that involves tech, obviously. So there is VR, AR, mixed reality, MR, and spatial audio, and a bunch of other things in the middle. And so VR is basically, wait, I'm going to show you guys a document. This here, can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a spectrum of like tech, mixed reality tech. So there's physical reality here, and then digital reality here. And augmented reality is here. So basically, it's when you have an overlay of like a 3D object or even 2D digital element on top of, your daily life. So like, for example, if during this conversation right now, there were like a little green man that came up on the side, that would be augmented reality. And then on this spectrum, you have virtual reality, which is like putting on the headset and you're completely transported to another place and you can't really see anything around you. And then in the middle, you have mixed reality, which is a spectrum. So it could go as far as like if you have a Skype call with a person and you can physically be in a space where you're talking to them. So like where you can see their avatar, like you're an avatar and you see their avatar in 3D in your space. That could be mixed reality. Or it could be, I don't know, like the HoloLens headset. A lot of people think it's an augmented reality thing, but it's actually mixed reality. And basically you can just move things in your space on top of your physical plane, but it's like a spectrum. So that's mixed reality. And then you also have, I'm going to stop sharing this. And then you also have spatial audio, and that's kind of something that I want to bring up really soon up in the discussion, because a lot of people are very focused on the visuals. So, virtual reality, augmented reality, a lot of it is focused on what you see, but a big part of experience is in sound. I mean, it's like that in movies as well. And so it's also like that in immersive experiences. You can actually make a whole experience just with sound. Like you can have like a ring full of like sound speakers, and then you're submerged in the dark, and then through like the sounds of footsteps or like fabric creasing and the sound of breath, etc., you could feel that like a person is walking around you, or you can sort of hear an interaction of people talking and a door closing and stuff. So there's a lot of that. And then there's also the haptic side of things, which is the sensory touch. And for example, there are companies that are making these haptic suits, which are basically like suits that are made of like a silicone. I think it's silicone, yeah. And then they just give you like small, like electrical impulses. And it can have a lot of applications. It can be used in like sports to train athletes which muscles they have to contract. Like when you have to do a pitch, you have to use like a sequence of muscles. So they kind of like target the ones that they need to contract to like be like this one, and then they sort of feel it, and then they understand how they have to throw. Or it can be to simulate a feeling. Like I tried this haptic suit in Taiwan where it was simulating the feeling of rain falling on your shoulders. And so it kind of just gave you a lot of small taps around this area and here. And it was like a randomized sequence of these little taps. And it just really felt like rain was falling on my shoulders. It's incredible. And that's also a very interesting place to investigate, which is the the limit between perception and reality. There's a lot of things that you can simulate that can really just with imagination bring you to somewhere very, very far. You don't even need like a huge machine or anything. You can just use the right cues to bring people very, very far because the mind is very suggestive. And so yeah, basically that's kind of all I want to say for now, to not overload your brains. Oh, last thing. Yeah, like these applications can be used in a bunch of sectors like art or medicine, architecture, manufacturing, yeah, a bunch, and they all have their own uses. And I think that my personal opinion on this is that I don't think we should apply it everywhere. I think that for certain specific situations, it can be very, very helpful. And that's where we have to like focus it on. But in other situations, if it's not applicable or if the people don't really want to have a relationship to tech, then they shouldn't. That's kind of all I want to say for now. Do you guys have comments? Yes, Jonathan, you seem like...
No, I'm trying to formulate the question because I want to, but that haptic suit is actually the first thing I'm hearing in other than the movie.
Yeah,
has been seen, but it's and I haven't. So it's a physical, so it can give electrical impulses that stimulate muscles, even.
Yeah. Because basically, like how like there's these biological experiments where like they put electrodes on a dead frog's leg on the nerves, and then the leg would like move, because basically what moves our muscles is just sort of electric. Yeah, so if you actually put electricity, it works as well.
I was actually thinking about the 80s pads with electrodes you put on yourselves to have a workout without doing the the effort. Just press play and then your muscles contract and then you get it was
I'm not sure about the scientificity of that because I haven't studied it yet, but yeah, I wonder if there was actually if that actually works. But so sorry, you're saying?
No, it apparently it does work, I think, as well. But still, it only contracts your muscles, but I don't think it was that healthy. Well, it didn't last very long. But the idea of having an athlete or someone who's learning a physical movement, or maybe an athlete, maybe a dancer, to help him or her to master a movement, that's new information. That's mind-boggling for now.
I see Such joining. He's a friend of mine. He's an artist. His name is Gilles, and he's an illustrator. He's taught me a lot about creation. So hopefully he'll join us soon. But in the meantime, I would like to also explore this idea of our relationship to tech, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to know anything about tech. I think that it's something that's taking over my life, etc. And I think that that's very logical, considering that we didn't do any like trust building regarding our relationship to tech. Like, in every relationship, when you go to the doctor's office, when you start a job, when you start a relationship, there's always some like pillars of trust building where you ask that person, like, is this okay? What is the thing that you would really not want to happen, etc. But that did not happen with tech, because it just kind of came in and it developed. And then through the 90s and the early 2000s, it was just sort of invading our lives. And when that happens, hi Gilles, how are you? Oh, Inga's here as well.
Oh.
Hey Inga.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
So Inga is my coach and friend. Gilles is an artist. Yanis is a friend of mine. Jonathan is a journalist, and Zainab is an interior designer. Just so you guys get to know a little bit what the profiles are around. So I was just talking about our relationship to tech. And I was saying how we were not given a choice about what our relationship to tech would be. And I think that that is something that's slowly changing, where we have the choice to have like an IoT home, you know, an Internet of Things home, where everything is linked to your internet and to your phone. So like if you want to like cook your rice at a distance, you can. Or there's even like I met a guy in China who is an American, and he created lights that would recognize your position and sort of change according to that. So if they see that you're sort of like walking around, it would be like, okay, you're working, so therefore you need a lot of light to see where you're going. If you're reading, you know, if they see like that your position is hunched, then they'll be like, okay, reading light mode. If they see that you're like away, then they'll turn off the lights. And I think that, you know, for a person who is like, I would like my relationship to tech to be helpful. And I'm okay with like it being there because I feel like that's fine, then that's great. That's super helpful to them. But if you're someone who prefers more like analog things, then you should be able to choose to not have that in your life. So yeah. Any
Hello?
questions? Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Est-ce
Gilles?
qu'on m'entend? Allô?
Oui, on t'entend, Gilles.
Oui.
Ah! Génial.
Cool. Ça va?
J'ai manqué le début, désolé, j'étais en réunion.
C'est pas grave. On va faire la session en anglais si ça te dérange pas.
OK.
Ça va? Cool. Si tu as
Ok.
des questions, tu peux me demander et puis je ferai le mieux de te répondre en français ou en anglais ensemble.
I just joined the chat, so I miss what you say. I don't know if I don't know exactly what is the chat talking about. So for the moment I just listen.
That's okay. I was just giving a quick introduction about what different types of augmented reality were.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was just where I was at. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, feel free to let me know. Until then, I think that I'm just going to throw a bunch of like experiences to you guys, and hopefully one of them will like attract your attention.
Anne, can I just say something? Because you made me think of, you know, Dyson, the like Hoover people.
Yeah.
They also, I recently saw this, they created a desk lamp.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back to like the interior design and where we see it. So they created a desk lamp for, and it works on an algorithm with the natural light outside.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's the same thing.
It is sort of, it's like in parallel lines, yeah.
Yeah, so it's linked to your phone and it knows the time of day outside, and the lighting will change throughout the day because we shouldn't really be working under the same light all day.
Yeah.
And also like towards the end of the day, you know, the light needs to go more yellow so that you can sleep better at night when it's time for bed.
Mm-hmm.
So Dyson do a lot of this type of technology. And also I know with like task chairs, like office chairs, there's a brand called Herman Miller. I don't know if you know them.
No.
They're one of the leading in like office furniture.
Okay.
And they also developed in one of their chairs, if you come close to your desk, it pushes you away. So similar to what you were saying about the haptic suit, it like vibrates, and it will also vibrate to tell you to stand up if you're sitting for too long. So I know even in like office design, they are thinking about a lot of these things as well and using the technology in that way.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
everything you're saying, like for me, I think of a sensory experience because that's something we talk about a lot. Even in office design, like what are you giving to your employees? And a restaurant design, like what's the experience people are having when they come into your restaurant? So that's where they're using technology in clever ways.
Yeah, I think that that's in the line of where I'm going for, where it's like human centered, where you really like standing at the point of the user, and then you're going, what is something that they would need, even if it's not really conventional. And then in that specific case, if tech has a place, then insert it there. Like the buzzing of the chair. I think that's something that I would actually really need, because I tend to like hyper focus and then not move from my desk for 3 hours. And then like 3 hours later, I have like, you know, a bad back or something. So that would be super useful. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I thought about now with COVID and everything, and we're all spending so much time at home when we can't travel, using the technology in a way where we can almost be transported somewhere else, but from your living room.
Yeah, I do that.
Sounds and touch and all of that. So I feel like there's so much room now with like how our lives have changed recently for us to use technology in a I mean, I think it's become a bit more positive because people have appreciated how it's helped us through this time stay connected like we are right now. So maybe we're shifting the way we think of technology as well. Before it was like bad, it's taking my time, and maybe now it's more like, oh, this is good and it's nice, it's helping us connect, and it's changed our world actually.
Yeah, I actually, as bad as COVID is, I'm pretty thankful for how it sort of accelerated digital transformation in the best way. Like the other day, I saw a Belgian elderly lady use like a scooter, and I was like, I've never seen that happen before. This is so great, because now maybe people don't really trust taxis, or they can't really meet and stuff, so they have to like, you know, use the things that are around them. And also in terms of immersive tech, I have a VR headset. It cost me like about 450, so it's like an okay investment. And it's like tetherless, so I don't have to buy anything. I just have to plug it into Wi-Fi and it works, so it's great. And I can like play a game with a friend now and like talk to him through that. So it's fun, you know, it's not just like a Zoom meeting or like, how are you? I'm so bored, etc. It's like we play a game, and it's the game Beat Saber, which is one of the most famous games out there, where it's like an arcade game where like a lot of blocks fly to your face and you have to like hack them with the beat of the music. And
so do you hold something like those paddles? Or?
Yeah, you hold like controllers.
Yeah.
And but then in the game, it's like a Star Wars saber thing. So it's really cool. And when you cross the sabers, there's a little bit of haptic feedback where it goes, and then your hands vibrate a little bit. So you feel like it's really real, you know, like these extensions are real. And then when they come to you, you have to like hack them, and then it gives you like a confidence boost, and it's fun. And you're also moving. You can actually break a sweat with those, because you have to like bend and then like, you know, go to the side and stuff. And you can do that with a friend. So like if you're in a really like difficult level, you're on a pod, like also it's in like a space. The game is set in the space that's like infinitely long. So if you're in a tiny space and you feel cramped, like you said, this is a way to escape, or maybe not escape, but like step into another space that's completely different. Like I think that they designed their game environment very well, where the space was just infinitely long that way, infinitely long this way, and it's 360. So it's not like some games when you look back, there's like a black hole, there's nothing, and you're like, that breaks the immersion. But here it was very well made, and you can talk to them like over there's like a mic in the headset. You can also like see them play, like if you die or something, you can just see them go, and you can even record it and stuff. So it's pretty fun. I mean, it's not the most big use of VR, I would say. Like gaming is a small portion of VR, but it's pretty cool. I think it's like one of the good experiences that I would recommend.
Well, one thing we do in architecture is we now, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with AutoCAD.
No.
It's a program that we use to draw.
Yeah.
Now it's pretty old-fashioned, and now we've moved on to like Revit and ArchiCAD, where you're literally drawing 2D, but it's being built in 3D at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like BIM technology. It basically halves the time you spend on a project because everything's already being built.
Mhm.
And what we do with a lot of clients is once we built our model, they come into the studio, put on the VR set, and they can walk through the spaces, and they can experience their building or their space. And clients love that because I mean it's there. You're walking through it. They can completely feel it and see it.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I actually like prepared something about like architecture and AR because I knew that you were coming for sure. And I think it would be nice to share the others. Just a quick video, guys. Don't worry. But it's like what Zainab said. It's you are like in the building and you can already see how things happen. So it's not like you're looking at a plan. And it's also like I mean, it reduces cost because you don't have to like build it and then be like, I don't like it, and then tear it off. And also in certain situations, if the thing that you're trying to build is kind of dangerous, you can, first see it digitally and see how it happens, and it reduces risk. Or like if you want to inspect a very dangerous place, you can also, or if you want to just like see like the interior of, well, no, I'm getting a bit, that's outside of the topic, but hold on, let me just share this video with you. Hold on. It's this one.
Oh yeah.
Industry embraces technology and improving safety.
By the way, I do not sponsor anything here, so this is just an example.
With intuitive equipment, circulate the information to others. SRI's computer-aided system can accurately track user location as they move around a large job site. With instant access to an intuitively searchable digitized database, an inspector is able to accurately align and compare what is being built against the building information model. Manual measurement processes become automated and more.
Okay, sorry, I need you guys to turn off your mics when I share videos. Cool. But yeah, basically, you know what it's like. So that's one of the things that augmented reality can do. You know.
What's the name of the glasses?
In this case, I don't
only
know.
know Oculus.
Yeah, Oculus is for VR headsets. So the one
Yeah.
that I have is an Oculus Quest.
Mhm.
And then you have the Microsoft HoloLens, which is the one that I talked about that is like MR. I'll show you.
But can't you literally just put your phone? I think you pop your phone in, no? And
Yeah, well, that's like a really kind of like lower range of virtual reality. Like it works already if you're like in a situation where you don't want to bring a headset and you just want to show something to like a kid or something. Although VR and kids is like a separate topic, but like if you just want to show a very quick experience, I guess you could pop your phone into a cardboard thing and then see it. But it could be so much more. Like you could have such a like better graphics, better sound, better like a bigger engine that would run things a bit more smoothly, etc. So also you could like a lot of the headsets kind of occlude light a bit better. So you kind of, because everything that is exterior, if you're in a headset, anything that's exterior, like the sound of your cat outside your door, or light that does not match the lighting environment in your environment, would just break the immersion. So
I'll tell you a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
Last year on my birthday, I really wanted to go to the top of Burj Khalifa.
Okay.
Why? And it's the tallest building in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to go to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister-in-law came down and she took me up to the top with my brother and my husband and my little nephew. And we got to the top and she said, okay, I've bought you this thing where you can put on a VR set and you jump off the Burj Khalifa.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is super cool. But just to know, I was hungover while doing this. So I got there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this headset on. I put it on, and my brother put it on the booth next to me. So me and my brother were going to do this jump.
Yeah.
I put it on, and you were literally at the top. It was so scary. I was screaming.
Yeah.
Even though you're like standing on the ground, and it pushes you off, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs because it was so real.
Yeah.
And so I finished it and I took my headset off. And my brother, who's like ex-army, super like, macho man, he chickened out. He didn't actually jump. He took off the headset because it's so scary. Real.
Yeah, that's like that's one of the experiences. They have a bunch of those where you're like on a plank on top of a skyscraper, and you have to like walk through the plank and stuff. And they give you these sounds of like cars, but like at ground level, coming up, and maybe sometimes they give you a little bit of air. So it's very easy actually to make. I mean, compared to other things like these big 360 immersion things, this is relatively easy to make, but it's so effective. I've actually seen a lot of people try it, like outside as you put the headset on them, and then they just like yell or they like bend. And and then you just see them like kind of like try and like tap their foot on the floor into those spaces that should be like empty, and then they can feel the ground, but they're still like, I don't trust this. They're still like walking in like a plank line. And then when you, in certain games, when you step off the plank, then you fall, and then you feel that, you see that visual thing where like all of the scenery just goes really up, and then you see the acceleration happen, and everybody just squeals. Like, it's very rare to see people just like
and so it's amazing how you physically feel it, even though you're just standing on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Somebody wanted to say something.
No, I was saying reading. So
No.
you have a real physical experience or reaction towards what you're seeing when your brain is tricking you in some sense.
Let me find one. Jump the plank. I love doing this. I love like showing people videos. Jump the plank experience.
I have a question. I didn't test a lot virtual reality or virtual experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask, what is the most popular experience inside? For example, like the video you show us in architecture, in video game, other thing, or outside. For example, some experiences, I don't know, in your experience, Zainab, in Burj Khalifa, is what outside or inside?
No, it's inside.
Inside.
It's inside, but you're jumping off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think that you're outside, but actually you're inside.
Yeah. I didn't see a lot of experience, or maybe never see some experiences in the street.
In the streets.
Yes.
Oh, that's because, well, in terms of virtual reality, it's kind of hard to connect to Wi-Fi with a headset. But it's not impossible, but it's just more complicated. Also, when you're in VR, you forget about your physical environment. It's happened to me so many times where when I'm in Beat Saber, I hit a wardrobe and it hurts so bad. So if you're in the street and you forget where you are and you just walk off, that's very dangerous because, you could be hit by a car or something.
And how do you think that we would start using it in daily life?
I think that realistically, augmented reality is easier or more useful to implement in daily life. Like there's this really old but kind of still a good example of the IKEA app, where you can like see which furniture you want to put in your room and what size. I mean, I'm talking about the idea, because the app in itself is okay-ish, but it could be better. I understand the struggles of different phones, different platforms, etc. But like the idea of like, you can just, when you're buying furniture, you can just try it out in your living room, and then, or it depends on what you would need. It can be used a lot in museums as well, as a way to connect with the artwork. Actually, there's this really great piece by Adrien M. and Claire B. It's an art collective where they made a whole story around pebbles. And it's the theme was, what's this word for when objects have souls? You give me, you know, like they were trying to tell the story of the soul of the stones. And it was beautiful because basically it was like the physical installation was just pebbles, and then you use an iPad to like look at it, and then through the iPad you can see like a little black kid jump on the stones and behave, and that's the soul of that pebble. And there's also sound. I'll show you a video later. And I think that that's great because, first of all, it's like a personal experience where it's really like, it feels like it's your imagination of the pebbles. It just somehow conveys the story much better than, you know, reading a plaque in the museum or watching a movie or something. And you can do so many things that you normally couldn't in normal media. Like, for example, in this experience, they put like a lot of like flying little spikes around the child in 3D. And that's something that you can do digitally, that you can. And anyways, there's a lot. I'll show you a video of it. But really, I mean, I think it depends on the people and their needs. Like, for example, in medical care, you could say that VR could be used as a way to distract people from their pain. Like there was this idea about using VR to distract people who have cancer during their treatment, which is a great idea. Or VR to use for people who are undergoing an operation or undergoing like intensive healing, like I wrote in the Facebook post, because, you know, when you're calmer, you can heal better. But also you kind of need to consider like, you know, the physical part of it. Like if you have cancer and your body is extremely weak, so weak that you can't lift your head up, then it's kind of not a great idea to put a headset that has several kilos on your head, right? Because you're already like just exhausted by just sitting up. So yeah, it's like it's an iterative thing. Hold on, so I'll show you the stone thing. Making sound to transition. Okay, here you go. Okay, so that's like some of the examples. And I think that the reason why I brought up AR is because it's easier to distribute. Like all you need is a phone that's more or less high caliber, like a recent iPhone or an iPad or a recent Android phone would work. Versus like a headset is like, you know, you have to bring a headset. It's still kind of expensive if you like move them and you crash one, it's expensive. And also there's the whole like sanitary level of things. Like when you put a headset on, you kind of are touching the previous user's skin oils, and that's maybe not the most comfortable thing to do in like places of large gatherings. I mean, sure, it can try to like wipe it down every time, but still. So yeah. And also when you were talking about immersion, Zainab, it kind of led me to think about something that I think is very important in immersive tech, which is when you are immersed, it creates this ground for really impactful things to happen, because you're sort of pulled out of your normal frame of reference, right? So you're more receptive to things. And there are a lot of like, I want to say emotional or artistic or sort of, you know, experiences that are artistic, but more on like the psychological side or more on the society side, which makes people like realize something about society that I think are really cool. And I think that this is something that will augment society as we go. For example, there's this one of my favorite experiences, and this also answers your question, Gilles. One of my favorite experiences is this VR experience called Where Thoughts Go. And it was created by this like one single guy. His name is Lucas Risotto. And basically you're in VR and you're in this like very calm, very minimalistic environment where everything is like cartoony but beautiful. And then there's like this oh, like choir song. And there are like these questions that appear. And they're all very personal questions, like describe the first time that you were in love, or describe someone that you really miss. And all around you, there are these like small balls of like heads that are like asleep. And then when you touch them, you like wake them up. And it's a recording of a person's answer. And all around you, they're a bunch, like a cloud of these answers. And because people are in VR and usually they're like in a room by themselves, so they have privacy, they really like allow the truest parts of themselves to spew out. So you really hear, it's like you've never met this person. You will never probably meet this person that you're listening to, but it feels like you have like this super intimate conversation where they tell you something really personal. And you just listen to their answer and another and another and another. And it makes you realize, you know, that your struggles are shared by other people, that other people have also completely different struggles from yours. So it kind of like makes you jump out of this like torment of my life is so hard, you know, you just kind of connect with humanity as a whole. And you can also record your own. And when you finish recording it, you can send it off into the cloud of all of the other answers. And I love this experience. And I actually cried in the headset at a conference. I spent an hour in it. I didn't know it, like time flew by. There's 5 questions. And that experience really impacted me. And I think that because of this immersive environment, it really allows people, like the creator of the experience, to make like a click happen in the person's heart, brain, soul, whatever. And it really, I felt changed after this experience. I walked out of it and I really felt different, you know. And there are a bunch of experiences out there that, you know, I guess to a certain degree or another can induce that kind of change. It's kind of hard to happen because you really need like good art direction, like a good sort of awareness of user experience and technical knowledge. And because this field is so new, a lot of the money is spent on the developers, so the people working on the computers, making the environments happen and stuff. And there's actually not so much budget or focus put on the experience design of these VR experiences. And that's the thing that's kind of killing the industry. So if you see a bad experience, it's not because the technology is not working. Actually, it works very well, but it's the people who made it who didn't think it through. And again, that comes back to the point where I'm like, an experience or like tech can be inserted in your life, but only when it really is necessary or where it really can bring value.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The story you just told, it sounds very therapeutic. Would you
Yeah.
agree that it felt that way, that you were experiencing a relief afterwards and a connection with a part of yourself? So it's this really sounds like a prosperous field for therapy, for the spiritual, psychological aspects of life to connect with. It's actually really, really interesting.
Yeah. So much so that I'm creating my own experience.
But was it like guided in some way? Did you like the questions you had an intimate talk, or you had a sharing of a feeling or an idea or something? But was it guided? Did someone ask you questions?
Yeah. So there is like you are sort of taken by the hand by like prompts of texts, but that are very, very gentle. Like you arrive in the environment. If I remember correctly, you get to choose like a world first, like because there's like sunset, dawn, etc. And then you understand that you have to choose that one. And then the way that you use it, this is the part of VR that I like. It's tech that's very easy to pick up. You don't have to spend hours figuring out how it works because you already have a beam shooting out of one of your handles. So you understand that you have to point to it. And then there's a button here, like a trigger button that you push to select. And then you enter it. And then you kind of, it's very simple. I think, if I remember correctly, you're just there and you're like close to a pond, and you can see that there's like a bunch of, again, if I remember correctly, because it's been a year since I tried that experience, like you just have like the little balls and you understand that you have to go there. But that's a good question because in a lot of VR experiences, the typical novice mistake that happens is that people spend like hours watching like this little rock. And they're like, oh my God, it's a 3D rock, when like all of the action is happening there. And then they miss it because it's a 3D 360 environment. And then when they come out, they're like, I don't really understand the experience, but that's because there wasn't a good enough prompt to tell them where to look. So there is design to be put in that, you know, where you either like, if it's like a very like cartoony game, then you can just put like big arrows, you know, like neons that go, look here. Or you could, if it's like a more gentle game, you could have like a bird swoosh in front of you and the sound of it also follow in spatial audio. And then you just naturally look that way. And then you'd be like, oh, look at that. You know, yeah.
No, but if I may, the reason why I'm asking if it was guided or not, because it kind of, well, in the sense that it was not a real-time connection with other people, but with their things that they left behind, that they said, that you recognized, that you shared. In that sense, you had a feeling of a connection. It reminds me of a little TV segment we did a couple of years ago. I'm going to explain really fast. It was at Tomorrowland. We made a show about Tomorrowland. We made a program, a human interest program with people all around the world coming to Tomorrowland. We didn't like the music at first, of course not. We were interested in the stories, but it was like a place that people from lots of places gathered that didn't know each other, of course. And then one of the things we tried was we placed a really lush Victorian bed on the campsite, and we asked people to connect and search for someone. Did you want to go for some pillow talk with someone? And the idea was that two complete strangers would be relaxing in a bed and talking and getting to know each other. But we knew that, okay, if we don't really guide it in some sense, it's gonna stick to, well, of course, it was the time essence, like, oh, did you see that DJ play? Yeah, that guy is awesome. Yeah, I loved it too. Or where are you from? Where are you from? But we deliberately filled the bed with pillows where we printed questions on that they could ask each other. That were really more profound. Like, what did you learn from your grandparents? What's the biggest mistake you ever made? What's the most valuable advice you ever gotten? Thing. So that was a guided experience, and that really opened people up because it made it gave the
you have to answer the door.
Yes, my girlfriend's helping. Because that gave the framework where that made it really profound, and there were really beautiful connections between people who just recently met. So that was a constructed framework we did, but it reminds me that that could really be possible in a VR setting and open up a lot more possibilities.
So that's a beautiful experience, Jonathan. That's great. I mean, yeah, because people are a bit shy and maybe they're not, I mean, it depends on the audience. If you have like people that are used to going to expos and are used to this type of experience, maybe they'd understand like, this is what I have to do. But yeah, like if it's people who are not used to this type of interaction, it's good to give a prompt and it's good to give them questions. I mean, even in, outside of VR, even in like webinars, because I do a lot of those right now, because people are so shy to be around each other and they're afraid of being judged by their questions, etc. Sometimes I need to like ask about 3 questions before people start feeling comfortable enough. And I think that there's a question of, safe space creation, where you have to, if you want to create such an experience, you really have to put some thought into making that area feel safe for people to share, either by, interior design of the place. What I did from my experience, because I also had to create a safe space for people, it was an experience for people to get in touch with their feelings. So I set up like a jungle where, when they step in, they understand that, okay, this is not real life. This is not society. I can just say whatever and it wouldn't be weird because I'm outside. It's like when you go on vacation, you can open yourself to different experiences. Also, privacy is very important, where you have to, really make them be sure that people wouldn't like sort of barge in and see them crying if they cry. Like they have to feel like it's kind of like therapy, you have to like choose a small room with walls, like weirdly, we're still very primal. So if you ask people to sit with their like eyes covered and they don't hear anything and they don't know what could come up and there's a door behind them, a lot of them would like look back to make sure that nobody's creeping up on them, etc. So there's a lot of like these, I guess, subliminal, if that's the right word, psychological things to consider. But yeah.
Primordial feelings.
Yeah, like these primal things. Like if you put earphones into people, that means that they can't hear their environments. They can only hear what's happening here. So they have to trust that this environment is safe. Otherwise, their mind will always be like, I have to sort of protect myself, and they wouldn't really tap into the experience. So you have to induce that. And sometimes having them be alone is a very good way. Or having them, if they're very skittish people, maybe having them be with a family member or something is a good way. Sometimes lighting is very important because it can really bring a mood. Music is also very important because, music. So yeah, or you can also maybe start with like a sequence of impressive things, like if it's in a big room with screens and they see like a whale sort of splash by and it's beautiful and it's a purple whale and stuff, and then it's like a very Studio Ghibli environment, that brings them amazement, then they can feel more open to the experience, etc. So
You made me think of it's actually one of my favorite movies, and if you guys haven't seen it, I really recommend you watch it. It's called Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
I haven't seen it yet.
It reminds me of that because he like ends up having a whole relationship with this avatar, or if you call it avatar. I'm not good with these technology terms.
That's okay. We don't even know ourselves, so it's good.
But she's like this made up person, and he has this whole relationship with her, and it's he experiences all these emotions. So it just made me think of that. It's a really good movie, actually.
Another one that I haven't seen her, but I heard it's great. Another one is Marjorie Prime, and it's with John Hamm, the guy who played in Mad Men. Yeah, and it's about a digital person who is the memory of someone. So Marjorie is this lady who's in the current, in like in the present time in the movie is old. She's like 80 and she has dementia or Alzheimer's or something. So she has a degenerative memory disease. And she has her husband, or like the digital version of her husband, like sitting across from her on the couch. And according to the state of mind, her state of mind of the day, it's like a different version of her husband. So it could be him when he's very young, because that day she remembers that she's 19. And so he should be the version of him when they met at 19. Because it would be weird if she thought you were 19 and then the guy was 50. That's actually one of the big problems when you have this type of degenerative disease. Is like your reality doesn't match what's in your mind, and then so you're like, ah. And so yeah, the whole movie is about that, and it's beautiful. So if you want it. Well, I've been talking a lot, guys. It is 4, so if you have like another engagement, feel free to leave us right now. If you want to stay for a sec and chat more, I am totally up for that.
I need to jump off, actually.
Okay.
But this was super interesting, and it was so lovely meeting you all, and nice to see you, Inga. And I think there's so much to talk about here, and I'd love to have more conversation with you, Anne, on like how maybe we can even do something with the architecture design and bringing this in, because I think clients love that. And that's definitely the next step of taking this to another place. And I actually already have a project in mind, so maybe we can talk later about something.
Yeah, I would love that. Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll
Bye.
see you soon. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
I have to go too.